We're back, people. What is up? Got some interesting topics to go over today. We're going to talk about the coaching thing with John Harbaugh being fired from the Baltimore Ravens. We are also going to discuss the GM candidates, go over that pretty quickly, what that could mean for Miami, because, they are now, I think, interviewing up to maybe 7 or 8 people. And then also go over some NFL draft stuff, leave any questions you got down below. But I think we'll start with the Harbaugh thing because there's more news. Obviously, once that happens, the Dolphins are going to get it brought up for sure. But yeah, yesterday, Ravens and Harbaugh parted ways, which is not super surprising. I know a lot of Ravens fans wanted him gone, and it seemed like it was maybe heading in that direction. I want to make this clear because I tweeted this out yesterday. I would be cool with bringing in Harbaugh, but I probably won't be as excited as maybe most Dolphins fans. I don't think he's the same as Jim, and I think he can be a pretty good culture guy, but I don't think he's to that level of what Jim brings to the Chargers with that level of culture. And I do think there's some element of he hasn't done a lot of things in a while, and he had arguably the most talented team for many years with an MVP, a multiple MVP time quarterback, and still didn't find a ton of success. But I think it would be. I think he could do a pretty solid job, but I don't think he would be great like a lot of people imagine. But there is a lot of reports that come out. So, I think Josina Anderson tweeted out that the Dolphins have been in touch, but then shortly after, Barry Jackson tweeted out that the Dolphins have not reached out to or engaged with John Harbaugh. And then Diana Rossini tweeted out that the Dolphins have met with several GM candidates, and while they've had conversations about McDaniel being there, they've also asked those guys what they would think of new head coaching options. So I think everything is on the table there with the whole head coaching thing. It's kind of crazy. He beat his brother with Flacco. Yeah, that was also a long, long time ago. And Flacco was on a generational run that postseason. I think the thing with John Harbaugh is he also doesn't bring anything from a schematic standpoint. If you bring in John Harbaugh, I need to know who the coordinators are because Harbaugh's not involved with any of that stuff. He's a special teams coach. He's more of just the leader guy. But even then, I saw a quote, there was a video of him posted not that long ago where it was, and he said something about all this garbage about do or die, Super Bowl or bust. It's so phony. Anybody that says that has never actually accomplished. I don't know. To me, it sounds like a weird message to send to the locker room. I don't know. I want to. If we're bringing in a coach, I want someone who's do or die for a Super Bowl. I don't really like that mindset a ton. That's fair, except he's an ace. See, but I've heard the Ravens special teams has been horrible, at least recently. I'm not a special teams guru, so I have no idea how true it is. But I know recently the special teams have been bad. I do believe that he can build a nice staff, and I think the positive the biggest positive I could see from Harbaugh is if you bring in Harbaugh, I think you also bring in that GM candidate from the Chargers because I think they're going to go hand in hand together because he was with the Ravens there. I can't remember his name. Where's his name? I had it not that long ago, but it's Chad something, that GM candidate. And I think they can build a pretty nice roster. I think roster construction will be nice, but I also think our infrastructure is so far away from what he's had with Baltimore. It would be an absolute mission for them to get there. And I actually don't think Harbaugh would want to come here. I feel like he's gonna see that and think oh, might get exposed a bit, Yeah, up to 8, yeah. It was 3 from the Niners, guy from the Rams, Packers, Eagles. Yeah, the Chargers guy, and then I think they added that one other person too. Very interesting. I think a lot of the guys that they brought in for GM candidates seem very qualified. GM is one that I'm I have no idea who the best guy is because this is why I don't get super attached to GM candidates because these guys have never been GMs before, right? It's nice that they're with good teams. I think that's the strategy. You go to the teams with the best structure, guys who draft well. they know what they're doing, so they're coming from a situation like they know they can implement that in Miami. But at the end of the day, I don't know how involved they were. Like I don't know who were their guys like that they got drafted to their team. Because sometimes, they might have drafted a guy that was great, but they wasn't maybe they weren't super hot, and maybe that was they got outvoted or something. That's always like the thing where it's like I don't know at the end of the day who the best candidate is until I can actually because we're not in the rooms. We don't know how involved they actually are. So for me, it's just hire the best guy that ends up interviewing pretty well and clearly has a great plan of attack. Yeah, the Packer guy is definitely. I think the Packer guy definitely seems interesting. I will say if the Packer guy comes in, I've heard him talk. I've seen the interviews of him and talking about like building to the draft. That is a super Green Bay thing. If you know anything about Green Bay and their team building, is they do not add in free agency like at all. They barely add in free agency. It's very rare they add players in free agency, and they go strictly through the draft. Which I agree, building to the draft is the main way that you want to build your team. I think they probably should add a little bit more in free agency. I think there's a little bit more that they can do in that specific area, especially in Miami, because Miami I think has an advantage with the no income tax. I think they can get pretty like they get pretty friendly contracts at times because of like the no state income tax thing. It definitely helps them out, and I think sometimes people want to play in Miami too. So I would like to see maybe a little bit more if they do have the Packers guy, Sullivan. I think maybe doing a little more free agency than they did in Green Bay is fine. But yeah, building through the draft is most important. Yeah. Oh yeah, Chad Alexander. That's the name. Thank you. I would also be cool. I honestly all the names they've added like all from pretty successful organizations, and I think from the most part I've seen them get pretty glowing reviews from people who like are pretty tapped in to like that type of thing. So like I don't really have a problem with any of them. Until I actually see what they do in their team building aspect. But also I think if you do bring in a new GM, you probably are going to have to give him more than 1 year, for because you said most are 1 and done. I think with this team and where they're at, they're going to need at least a couple years. And if they bring in a new head coach, the same thing. I think if they bring in a new head coach, man, next year is going to be, no matter who the head coach is, because I think the thing with McDaniel is the offense is so specifically built around his system. I don't think the Dolphins have enough resources to completely overhaul that in one offseason. So I think, man, it would look even worse with a new head coach, at least for the next season. So you would have to. That's why I think they might be some coaching candidates would be worried because 2027 is where they start to have more like cap space again. 2026 this year is very about the draft for sure. The draft is huge. I believe the Dolphins have the most currently right now. I think the Dolphins have the most picks in the top 100. They have 5. And I think there might be one other team that also has 5, but they have the most picks currently in the top 100. They also might get another if Weaver gets hired somewhere else, they might get another 3rd round pick added to that as well, which is cool. I don't know if you guys saw, but Ty Simpson just declared, which I thought was interesting. I actually think so. Apparently, like Jordan Reed, who's pretty tapped in, he's a good draft guy. If you guys want to follow him, he said Ty Simpson was getting a lot of day 2 grades, which I think is interesting, and he decided to declare off that. Ty Simpson had round 1 film early on in the season, and then he had some injuries, and then he started to show some struggles, and then it was definitely a lot worse. I do think the injuries affected that. But if McDaniel's the coach, Ty Simpson is probably the best fit schematically for him. Like he would probably be the day 2 quarterback I would throw a dart at if he actually was there in day 2. Because the Dolphins have a lot of day 2 picks. I wouldn't take him in round 1. I don't think it's worth it. I think there's a lot of concerns there with only like 15 career starts, lack of experience. Like he would need some time. Like there would actually have to be a developmental curve. And I feel like the NFL is very impatient when it comes to quarterbacks nowadays. But I don't know. If it's me, I'm throwing as many darts as possible, and Ty Simpson would probably be one of the better darts you could throw. But I don't think I would use a 1st round pick on that. But I also would not be surprised if Ty Simpson, after the process, ended up going 1st round, just with how things work out typically with QB needy teams. Miami has been one of the biggest overspenders on stars and fairness over the years. Yeah. I would say not the last 2 years, but yeah, in the past they were for sure. No, definitely like when they were like doing like the Mike Wallace and Ndamukong Suh type deals, I agree. Those should not be deals that you try to make. Like I don't think you should be going unless you have crazy cap space. I don't think you should be trying to overpay. But like I liked like the one from 2 years ago, the free agency where they signed Brewer and Brooks to like kind of middling contracts. Like I love throwing out contracts like that in free agency, and I feel like you could potentially miss out on that. But I don't want to do that. Garrett Nussmeier, yeah, he would be a later guy than Ty Simpson for me though. I think Ty Simpson's more talented. I think at least like Ty Simpson has more like solid physical tools, while Nussmeier is like below average physical tools. Quinn, if McDaniel is here, I think Quinn will get a fair shot. I think if it's someone else, not McDaniel, and like the play caller isn't a part of the Shanahan tree, I would not be a fan of Quinn playing. But I think in this system, he can definitely at least be a backup and be fairly serviceable. I don't know. I'd be throwing as many darts as possible. I would definitely be checking in on Malik Willis. I think Willis is going to get paid, and probably more than Dolphins can pay. But you definitely got to at least check in on that. If they brought in Harbaugh and then brought in Monken, then Malik Willis would be super intriguing for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many differing reports about this Harbaugh thing now. Like, if I had to guess, I'm guessing the Dolphins definitely at least put out feelers to the agent. They reached out to the agent at least and kind of would see if he was, interested, and then we don't know if he actually was or not. My guess would be he maybe wanted to interview elsewhere, and maybe the Dolphins felt like they're probably wouldn't even have a chance. I don't know. I also still think there's a chance. I mean, the way that some of these reports coming out and how they're talking to the GM candidates, and they haven't officially said McDaniel is back, I think a lot of things are still on the table. Weaver is most like. I mean, I hope Weaver gets a head coaching job. Give me those 2 third-round picks. But if Harbaugh came here and Weaver stayed, I mean, it would make sense. They were in Baltimore. I don't know. As I've said, I'm cool with Harbaugh, but I'm not as like they need to get him as maybe everyone else is. Like, I think Harbaugh has become he's not quite the same guy he used to be, and I think, when you arguably have the most talented team in the league and, a quarterback that's multi-MVP and you still didn't win it all with that, it's a little concerning. Obviously, that's better than what Miami's at, but they would have to do a lot of work to get to that situation, We need an A+ draft. I agree. The draft is the most important thing of this offseason. You think Ewers is the future? We build a team around him? No. We'll have 5 third rounders. Yeah, we'll have 4 this year because you get 2 third rounders, but it's not in the same year. It'll be 1 in 2026 and 1 in 2027. Oh no, I agree, Drew. I don't think this would be the best place for John. I actually think if John Harbaugh came to the Dolphins, he would most likely fail because it's a much worse situation than he's been in, and he has been having some struggles as of late. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs this year. They were still making the playoffs, but they were a team that should make the playoffs every year. So Tua definitely gone. I mean, yeah, I would be surprised if he's back. I mean, I guess he could be back, but I would be surprised if he was the starter. I told y'all Ewers was better than Tua. Y'all flamed me. Ewers, I would say Ewers played better than Tua played this year, but Ewers has a lot to prove to have a better career than Tua. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, if you're Ewers, like you're hoping you have a Tua like career, But yeah, I mean, I thought Ewers played pretty solid. Nothing special, but he does some things pretty nicely that fit the system. They clearly were protecting him, like with a lot of the things that they call lots of play action, very little true drop back. Same thing they did with Tua, being very QB friendly. I just have a lot of if McDaniel's not the coach, I would not feel comfortable with you restarting, like at all. Yeah, and it's a super small sample size. It's definitely weird to come in here and try to like take a victory lap over that, but hey, you do you, man. I don't really go for the whole victory lap thing. I see victory laps all the time on Twitter. It's like it literally will be like one guy, the guy they loved played like one good game, and they're like, "See, guys, I was right." Like what? Yeah, Tua was definitely not the same player this year. I just saw this tweet. Here's a reasonable range for Ty Simpson to get drafted, and it's the Jets at 33, Arizona at 34, Cleveland at 39, and Miami at 43. Yeah, that's where I would be okay with it. Why doesn't Stephen Ross get more criticism of how he's handled ownership of the team? He's got a laundry list. I mean, I see him get criticized all the time. I don't really waste time criticizing him because what's the point? Like, I can't do anything about it. I can't fire him. You know? We got to extend Rizzo Douglas and Brewer. They were top 5 this year. I think they should extend. The only players they should extend are Brewer, Brooks, and Achane. Rizzo Douglas is a free agent, so I would be down to re-sign Rizzo Douglas, but I wouldn't re-sign him to anything more than a 1-year deal. Like he's like 33 years old. He would only be like a 1-year deal type player. He's not a long-term future player for Miami. And also, Brewer would be a little questionable to extend too, thinking about it now, because Brewer's a stud, but if McDaniel is going to leave, I think Brewer's play would potentially take the biggest hit. Like, that's when like people are like, oh, I want McDaniel gone, but like McDaniel's offense, like a lot of these players would take a huge hit. Like I think Brewer would take a hit. I think even like Patrick Paul's play would also probably take a hit. A lot of the offensive linemen's play would take a hit, I think. The quarterbacks would for sure take a hit. Achane might too, depending on who you bring in. I think Achane could still do pretty well in a lot of other systems. But I think a lot of Dolphins offensive players would take a hit. Dulcich, all the tight ends, honestly. No thanks, Simpson. No thanks. I mean, if it's day 2, I'm down. I think his play, like he had some really good film early on in the career. Early on in this season, he did get injured and his play started to fall off a bit. But like, what other QBs are there in the draft? You know, that you would even have a chance of drafting that are even somewhat intriguing. You know? Yeah, I mean, yeah, McDaniel's not going to go to. It's just pointless to talk about. I'm sure he'll go some. If he does get fired, he'll be a good OC. So. Where was I? I mean, Mike's not going to get off. It's not even. It's like I don't think anyone in the history of the NFL would do that. But yeah, let's go to what did I want to say? Yeah, I talked about that. Talked about Harbaugh. Talked about some of the GM candidates. For my overall thoughts. Okay, so I did tweet out the other day. I tweeted out like, and this got some traction. I got a lot of comments, and it made me think. Taylon Green, but Taylon Green is much worse at playing quarterback than Ty Simpson. He is. There's some upside there for sure, but like I can't remember the last time a Taylon Green type prospect worked out at the NFL level. Like the long, athletic, lots of physical tools, but can't throw over the middle of the field. When's the last time that quarterback that's not going in the first round worked out at the NFL level? Like, I don't mind throwing a dart there late round at Taylon Green, but like, I don't know. I personally am not as big as a fan as maybe other people are. Okay, what was I about to say? No, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I made a tweet about. Okay, this tweet got 275 likes and 32 comments. Lots of comments, some negative, some positive. So I said if I was the new GM for the Dolphins, I would just take Caleb Downs at 11 just to start my drafting resume off strong. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, dude, if you're a new GM, sometimes I feel like you just want to play it safe. Your first pick, just take the stud. Positional value be damned. And I got a lot of comments saying like he won't be there, which that is true. He might not be there, but if you do look at the history, safeties can definitely fall in the draft. I actually think if Harbaugh came here with the Child Alexander from the Chargers and they were here, I actually think Caleb Downs would be his shots of being a Dolphin would rise exponentially because they took Malachi Starks last year in the first round. They're the team that took Kyle Hamilton at 14. Like I think they'd be very willing to take Caleb Downs at 11 if he fell there. I do think he could go for before that just because this draft is kind of weird. But there's a lot of players. I want to go through, I think, all the players that I would be okay with taking at 11, and there's more than 11 players. I like him in the 4th over Ty in the 2nd. Maybe if you change it to like 6 or something, I would agree. But 4th, nah. But yeah, I want to go to this because I got a lot of those comments saying he ain't making it to 11. Maybe, but I'm not confident in saying that. It's way too early in the process. But let's just go over all the players that I think would be cool at 11, and I think players that will go before 11. So I think if Dante Moore declares, it's pretty likely that Mendoza and Moore will be gone before 11. So let's say 2 QBs are off the board, 2 players right there, probably going 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 if I had to guess. Then we go to players like Caleb Downs. I would also be okay with Caleb Downs 11. He could go before. That's fine. That's 3 players there. Then I would say the 2 Ohio State linebackers, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. I think both could very well be there at 11. I think Arvell Reese's play has taken a hit recently, but I think that's something to do with usage. I've also heard of some potential, maybe character concerns with him that can make him fall. But I would say just based on film alone, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, I would be totally okay with at 11. That's 5, even if they're gone. I'd also probably throw Jeremiah Love in there. I wouldn't take Jeremiah Love, but I also, because I don't think the Dolphins need a running back, but I think he's someone that could go before the Dolphins pick at 11. Like, that's another name that's in there. Reuben Bain Jr. and David Bailey are the 2 edges I would take. There's not another edge I would take at 11. I wouldn't even consider any of them. Dolphins are going to need edge, and I think those are the 2 guys that are... Honestly, they might be the only first-round edges I have in this class. I think some other edges will go first round, but I don't think they should. But yeah. This isn't in any order, by the way. I'm just kind of going through and listing players that I think will be... I'm just trying to get as many names as possible. That's 8 players right there that I could easily see going before the Dolphins pick, but there's still options. There's also the receivers. I think I don't think the Dolphins will necessarily be super interested in receivers, but I think like Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate could all go before the Dolphins pick, or at least 1 or 2 of them will go before the Dolphins pick. And if they don't, I'd be down to take like Tyson or Tate at 11 too, if that was really another player. Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson. He's someone I could see be gone before 11. Very talented player. And then we haven't even mentioned like corner yet either. There's still Jermon McCoy, Mansour Delane. Like I would take Mansour Delane pretty easily at 11, the LSU corner. That's like 15 named players. And I didn't even mention offensive tackle. There's still Francis Maui-Noa and Spencer Fano. Now, I think this offensive tackle class is pretty weak. I don't love the idea of either of those 2 at 11, to be honest. I would be okay with it, though. Like I've seen worse picks be made for sure. I think both players will probably go first round. It's just I think 11's a little bit early for them, but I think they're both right tackles, and the Dolphins are going to have a right tackle need because I think they'll probably move on from Austin Jackson. But those 2 players are also names to know. In Maui-Noa, like I think if McDaniel's the coach, Spencer Fano's a really good fit, and then Maui-Noa, I think might be more of a guard at the next level. I think he could be a really good guard. I think I have some questions about him at tackle, maybe athleticism-wise in this scheme. But I think he's going to be a pretty good NFL player. And there's also probably other players who will be late risers, but that's like, let's see how many players I just named that I think could easily go before 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think I just named about 16 players. Yeah, Fano. The reason I am a little worried about him at 11 is he does really struggle with power and has a lack of an anchor ability. But man, he moves people in the run game. Like when he's going forward, he moves people, and he's very athletic. He would be a weapon in the run game. And I think the Dolphins would love that in this specific system for sure. It would definitely be protected, a lot of his weaknesses, if it was McDaniel's system. Very good mover. I like a lot of his technique, though, in pass pro. He does a lot of flashes. Like he is very technically sound. It's just sometimes he gets overpowered, and that's how he typically has his losses. And then Maui Noah, I think if he has his struggles on that side, it would be more so with like maybe athletic rushers. But like he's a bully. Also pretty technically sound. I would not be surprised if they were the pick. Probably wouldn't be my top options at 11, but would be picks that I would be definitely okay with. Miami's not going to be a good team next year because of Tua. Uh, I mean, I guess, but I don't know. But honestly, whether they have the Tua contract or not, I'm not sure. It would change that much for next season. I would be down to trade down as well. I agree with that. I'm not trading Waddle. I'm not doing it personally, unless you get a crazy deal, which I don't think you will. Chop has been a bust. No, he definitely had some struggles this season, but I don't think people know what the term bust means. But yes, the Dolphins are going to need edge. Whether Chop was a bust or not, the Dolphins would need edge. Like he's going to be like the only edge that has any future potential with the roster. You think Diego Pavia will be drafted? He shouldn't, but I mean, maybe late round. How far can we trade down and get Mansour Delane? It's tough to say from this far out, but I guess it's a possibility. Delane's a stud, but I don't know if you could trade down that far and get him. Kenneth Grant also hasn't done anything. I would recommend watching the film because Kenneth Grant was pretty solid in the second half. He also has not been a bust. For anyone, like, I don't think they know what the term bust means. I saw some people trying to say Tua is the biggest bust in NFL history. I'm like, do you guys know what the term bust means? You can say Tua was a disappointment, but he was not a bust. Busts are players like Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf or many other quarterbacks that never really even played or accomplished anything. I'd trade Achane to avoid paying him. I probably wouldn't. I don't think the Dolphins have too many contracts they need to pay, so I think they can pay Achane. He wasn't game changing, is what I'm saying. Yeah, but it's year one. You got to be patient with these players, man. Like the Dolphins' defense had a lot of struggles. Yes, I want to see some growth from Grant for sure. But I mean, a lot of rookies aren't game changers. Phillips, Trader, Marshall were the best rookies. I don't agree on Marshall. I agree. Phillips was the most consistent of the rookies, but I actually expected that because I think what he's consistently asked to do is what he's consistently good at, and he's asked to do that very specific role pretty much only. Trader, I thought played pretty solid when he played. I don't know why he got benched at the end of the season. I don't agree with Marshall. I actually might argue Marshall was the second worst rookie after Jonah. He did have a good game against the Bucks, but outside of that, it wasn't very good. And he was also playing out of position, so I don't blame Marshall for that, by the way. Jonah was definitely the worst. Then after that, I mean, it gets a little, you can argue in any direction, but Marshall for a 6 was good. I mean, it was a 5th, and I don't know. He had one good game. Every other game, I would say, was either below average or bad. Tua always looked this. Y'all just weren't watching film. Yeah, man, I don't watch film. Biggers was good value. Yes, I agree with that. I still think Jordan Phillips was the best value pick. I think that was what that was my. I think the argument before that I had with people is I said Jordan Phillips was the best value pick. Other people were saying Ollie. I mean, obviously it's only year one, so you can't say for sure. I think Ollie for 6th round was pretty good value, but I also don't think he's anything game changing. Yeah, dude. I've never watched film in my whole life. Marshall was good against Washington, 2 PBUs. Yeah, he had some nice plays against Washington, but I think he only played like a handful of snaps, so it's hard to grade that game fully. But yeah, when he played, I do think when Marshall played on the outside, it was some good stuff. Oh yeah, Jonah's definitely the biggest disappointment. Like I expected struggles from Jonah year one. I didn't expect it to be that bad. Grant wasn't the right pick. Should have been Tyler Warren. I mean, to be fair, Grant probably outplayed Tyler Warren in the second half of the season. Warren started to have some struggles, and I like Tyler Warren. That what happened. I just had a crash. Hold on. Let's see. No, my stream's still up, but I gotta activate something. Nah, I mean, bro, I'm a huge Tyler Warren fan. He did not do, and I know their QB had injury, but like he literally did nothing in the second half of the season for the Colts. And I'm a huge Tyler Warren fan. I mean, it was Daniel Jones for a part, and then it was Philip Rivers. I mean, Philip Rivers found like the other. If you look at the other players, they didn't have fall offs. Like Alec Pierce just had great success with Riley Leonard in the last game. Josh Downs had more success with Rivers than he did with Daniel Jones. Like I think tight end's one of those positions where like I don't think QB should affect your production that much unless your QB is just absolutely awful. Like you should be the QB's best friend. Like a lot of your throws are like the more QB friendly plays. Like you should act. Sometimes tight ends become more productive with backup quarterbacks, you know. But like I said, his whole team started playing bad. He starts struggling more. It was the same thing for Miami. Grant was playing bad in the beginning of the season. The whole team was playing bad. Team starts playing better. He starts playing better. Like there's just so many things that play that up. Rivers off the couch. Come on, no. I mean, did you not see some of the other players? Josh Downs, who's a slot receiver, was producing way more with Rivers. Yeah, and I'm a big Tyler Warren fan. There's no bias here. Tyler Warren was like my favorite player in the draft. You think Brewer's size is an issue in short yardage? No. Typically, our short yardage issues are more of the guards. Skylar Thompson almost won us a wild card game if it wasn't for Waddle drops. See, this is how I know you ain't watching film, man. This is how I know you ain't watching film. Oh man, Sonny Styles is a Dolphin. I'd be down. I'm a big Sonny Styles fan. I really wanted the Fins to draft Quincy Riley and Chuck last year and leave a homer, but those guys were special. How's Quincy Riley played this year? I haven't watched him at all. I think he's gotten some playing time, right? Are they both with the Saints? I know Shucks played pretty solid in this down the stretch. Gaskin really, yeah. It happens, man. Like sometimes guys hit a wall. Sometimes they go out. Like it's gonna happen, and we won't know exactly what they are as players until maybe a future season. I say that's why you typically give prospects about 3 years to truly know what they are. Simpson declared, "You want that rider?" I'm thinking, yeah, Justin. I talked about that a little bit earlier. I think in like day two, he was definitely, especially if McDaniel's the coach, because I think he's probably the best scheme fit schematically for McDaniel's offense. That would probably be the dart I throw. I mean, most of the quarterbacks in this class I don't think are good at all. And the Dolphins have a lot of day 2 picks, so I would definitely be willing to use one on Simpson. Riley only second to Will Johnson amidst rookie corners. Is that according to PFF? I mean, I'd have to watch the film, I guess, to know how. I was a fan of Quincy Riley though. Coming out, where did he end up going? Like late 3rd, early 4th? I can't remember. Something like that. Dolphins didn't have a pick there. There's no player who might picks out who will improve the team. Trading down is the most prudent option. I mean, I love a good trade down, but you can't just trade down. It takes 2. It takes 2 to tango. And I mean, I love trading down. But if you get a stud at 11, I mean, I'll take the stud. You need to build this team throughout. Riley was a 4th. Okay, that's what I thought, yeah. Yeah, the Dolphins didn't have a pick there because they traded it away. I wanted Grant so bad, I was wrong. It's too early to say that, Brian. Trust me, just be a little bit patient. You might end up you could end up being wrong, but I would be a little bit patient. To be fair, would Tyler Vaughan really have made a difference this year? Would he have really improved the team? Like you said, wanted Jonah was wrong there. Now that I could agree with. I was wrong too. I mean, I didn't want Jonah in a trade up. I made that very clear. I did not want to trade up at all. And if we were trading up, I wouldn't have taken Jonah. I probably would have taken a few other players. Like I would have taken Will Johnson, even with the injury thing, over him for sure. But I was definitely okay